This week on the Cynical Optimists,
we talk about Sonic's new look,
we talk about Epic's new store,
and we talk about Spidey's new movie, Into the Spider-Verse.
Hello and welcome to the Cynical Optimists, not to be confused with our alternate reality counterpart, the Optimistic Cynics. I'm Phill.
And I'm Nick.
So I sent out an invitation to the multiverse to all the other different versions of Phill and Nick running their own podcasts, asking if they want to come and join us this week to talk about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and they were all washing their hair. Now, I don't understand quantum theory, but what are the chances of that? So I guess you'll just have to put up with regular universe Phill and Nick to go over that.
That black and white version, the noir version of Nick, is a right douche, so I'm kind of glad.
No, that noir version of Phill thinks he's so auteur. Drives me a bit nuts. Actually, I'm kind of glad they're not here. They'd overrun our conversation with their own opinions.
Yeah, and trying to get that many people over a Skype conversation as well, it's not easy.
Yeah, no one would volunteer to edit that either. They're like, nope, I'm not trying to sync up 12 sets of audio.
How have you been? Have you been?
It's been good. It's been reasonably busy week, but I've just been playing lots more Smash. Still haven't unlocked everyone. That's how busy I've been. But to be fair, there's like 60 characters to unlock.
It's December. Nothing ever stops in December. I've taken a break. I've taken a break in between eating, quite literally, to record this podcast. I was finishing up a truffle just as we began.
Yeah, no, December is just eating and seeing people and spending money and then eating some more.
Yeah, how tiring, right? I've got to see people and eat all the time, you know?
Got to be sociable, have fun and be merry. What an absolute pain in the ass time of year, I tell you.
What a chore. So my first bit of TV and film news may be a low-key spoiler for the end of Avengers 4.
Okay.
Do we want this? Should we timecode it?
Skip a few minutes ahead if you don't want potential spoilers for Avengers 4. I probably won't timecode it.
Yeah. So an Audi promo came out recently for their new e-tron electric car, the e-tron GT.
Okay.
And they've roped in RDJ to come and do a little overview of it and say, I love Audi because this. I drove an Audi in Iron Man. Big old marketing ploy, but basically towards the end of the video, the person he's speaking to is like the chief designer or something, turns around to him and goes, so you want to drive the car again? And RDJ goes, oh, I haven't driven the car as myself. I've only driven the car as Tony Stark in Avengers 4 coming May 2019. Which, to me, suggests that not only does Tony Stark survive being stranded in space, but he also makes it back to at least the present day, if not future, by the end of that film.
Yeah, unless it's a flashback.
Because why would he just be sort of driving around casually in an e-tron GT as Tony Stark if he wasn't?
It turns out the trailer was very cut in such a way. Those scenes of him recording on the Iron Man helmet are him sat in the boot of the car.
Yeah.
It's really going to blow your mind when it happens. That shot of the ship going through space is completely different. Like...
They do that
Nebula
a lot, actually, in
off.
Marvel trailers. They kind of recut the scenes and include characters that weren't there before.
Yeah, that's why you don't see him interacting with Nebula, because Nebula goes off in the Guardian ship.
And Tony gets a sweet Audi e-tron GT.
Yeah, he's like, oh, thank God it wasn't crushed by the moon. Yeah. It's here on this foreign planet.
But yeah, to me, because, like, I don't know, it kind of suggests... Because that's... The Marvel and the MCU is kind of, it's set in the present day, and obviously the e-tron GT is at the moment it's like a concept version of a car that's coming out soon. So to me, it makes me assume that he at least gets to the end of the film.
Yeah.
Because there's theories about time travel and stuff that they're going to do throughout this film. I don't know. This could be like unintentionally a massive spoiler for the sake of advertising a car.
Or it could just be a really strange closing line because he was like, I'm here advertising Avengers 4 and I've not done anything so far.
Yeah, maybe.
And then it's like, oh no, the ad's ending. You'll see me drive it in Avengers 4.
But
nailed it.
Well, we know someone is probably going to die in that film. There's like, it's been rumored it could be Cap, but like I thought it would kind of wrap. Tony Stark was obviously the first one in this franchise. I had a feeling he might not make it to the end of the next film, but because it's got to be one of them, right?
What, Cap or Iron Man?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
maybe
they seem like they'd be the two biggest impact ones, don't they?
Yeah. Maybe Tony's using it as a hearse, and he's just crammed Captain America in the back of it, and he's driving it along. Maybe. We'll never know.
Critics would go on to call it the most forced product placement ever.
It's like a coupe as well, so they'd really have to like shove him in there because he's a big bloke as well.
Can they just strap the coffin to the roof?
Well, we'll find out in May 2019. No, it's April now, isn't it?
Yeah.
April 2019. What else is happening in 2019? Not Bond 25, but we will get that in 2020 or something. I don't know. I can't really remember where that's at. Apparently they're trying to cast Rami Malek as the villain.
Okay.
Which sounds pretty cool, because he obviously played... He was the lead in Mr. Robot, and then most famously recently in Bohemian Rhapsody, he played Freddie Mercury, which everyone seemed to like. Not the film itself. Well, I don't know. The film got pretty good reception, not from critics, but I liked it. And everyone really liked him as Freddie, so I'm sure he'd do a bloody good job as a villain. You interested?
What, in Bond 25?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably see it when it comes out.
Yeah.
But to be honest, the last one where they were... I don't know, I found the last few Bond films who tried to hop on like cinematic trends of the time too much.
That's like, every Bond film, though.
Yeah, no, that's true. That, to be honest, it's just because probably I wasn't around in the... when the 70s and 80s ones came out to notice it.
Yeah, but even in like Skyfall, yeah, as you said, it did the whole like Dark Knight stuff with the man in the cage, but he's got a plan. And then Spectre was basically a superhero film.
Yeah, Spectre was like, all these films have been linked, despite the fact that they clearly weren't planned that way.
Because the only reason they invented Quantum is because a rights issue to Spectre, I think.
Okay.
Do you know that?
No.
Yeah, that was the entire reason we got Quantum of Solace, because they were like, we can't technically say Spectre in this film. But there you go. It's all connected.
They sorted it out a few years later, and then we're like, now we can use Spectre, and we're going to retroactively say that was to do with Spectre.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, this franchise has gone... Like, Casino Royale was still, like, really strong. It's gone massively down since then.
Well, Casino Royale was like almost like a revival, wasn't it? Because it was at a dip before then, if I'm not wrong. And then the fact that they were showing like actual damage to James Bond, and it was Daniel Craig, and it was fresh, and it was new.
Yeah, a lot of people liked Skyfall. I wasn't a big fan. I was really looking forward to the Danny Boyle version we were supposed to be getting, though, and I'm sure this new director's going to be good. I've forgotten who they are, but I'm sure it will be great.
Yeah, no, I liked Casino Royale enough. I don't think I've seen Quantum of Solace still.
Really?
No.
Oh.
Skyfall, I just kind of had enough of those sort of films. Like, The Avengers was good, The Dark Knight was good, and then there's a few copycats, and then there was that, and I was like, for God's sake, how did he manage to plan all that? Like, 20 years in advance or something stupid. Then Spectre was fine. Like, I don't really remember what happens apart from the fact that it just forcibly links all the films together.
They're all related as well. He's his brother. It was literally an episode of Sherlock, wasn't it? It even had Andrew Scott in it as well. The dog was your brother, or whatever it is.
You know, I'd probably see a new Bond film if it came out, but I'm not like pushing for it. I'm not like sat on the edge of my seat like, when is Bond?
Yeah.
So
there you go. That's a 60% optimism on the scale.
Oh, and you're not going to do your thumbs up again, are you?
No, we're at percentage now. Last week we're at degrees of a thumbs up. You know what? No, I like that. We're going back to that.
Why did I mention it?
This is a 50-degree thumb from the Synopsis hosts. What other movie news have we got? There's been a trailer for a Playmobile movie.
Cool.
Yeah. I should just add, I felt obliged to mention that because we talk about the Lego movies once in a while, and this technically counts as a rival, I guess. So it's probably worth mentioning, but I haven't seen it, and I probably won't watch the film when it comes out either.
Well, it's probably directed more at kids because it's Playmobil.
From what
if it turned out to be dark and gritty.
Yeah, from what I saw, I think it's going to have a similar kind of like fun stop motion-y kind of feel to it. I mean, I didn't actually click on the trailer, but from the thumbnail, I was like, that.
Well, we've acknowledged its existence. I think that's enough for now.
Yeah, that'll do. We've also got a first poster for the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. This is happening. I'm not like as against it as like I've seen around on the internet because like I think it's more because of like the theory of like inevitability, like everything is eventually going to become a film, and this just seems like naturally I thought there would be one right by now, so it's happening. I don't know anything about it. We've just had a couple of tiny little teaser posters of his hairy legs.
Well, first it was that silhouette one, and then it was his legs.
Yeah.
And I think teasing out his appearance clearly has not paid off for them in this case. Because people have just drawn their own conclusions and said, oh, he's probably going to look terrible.
Yeah. Hairy legs.
Like the Detective Pikachu, you didn't see it before the trailer, and then you saw it in its context of its world as well.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously just teasing like a slightly silhouette-y poster means that detractors are going to have a field day filling in the blanks.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it looks very good, but then I was sceptical that it was going to be good at all, and I'm still sceptical, but I'm going to hold, I'm going to wait till I actually see a trailer before I judge it too harshly, because at the moment we're just looking at
teaser posters.
Yeah.
Is what the second one was over the was it San Francisco
Golden Gate Bridge?
Bridge, yeah. I'm sick of seeing that in films. Move location, please.
I was going to say, does that mean it's going to get destroyed at some point in this film?
Probably, yeah. Oh, every bloody film. So you showed me a couple of reactions just before the podcast. We got one from the original creator of Sonic, who said Sonic is a fairy of a hedgehog, so he doesn't need to be designed closer to a real hedgehog, even in a live action. Mickey doesn't become a mouse in live action, does he? Because they are fairies who can live on when people believe in them. So, like, clearly that doesn't sound like someone who's particularly happy with this design.
No.
And that's the creator of Sonic, but...
Yeah, but then I guess part of me is thinking, like, how could they have done it better?
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Like, that's probably the big thing I come back to, is, like, I've seen a few sketches of stuff, of some slightly better designs.
Yeah.
But superimposing Sonic into the real world was always going to look weird.
Yeah. And this is, like, as we said as well, like, this is just the very first stage of kind of bringing it into the public consciousness. Just, like, starting to ramp up a bit of, like, media attention. We're not going to get anything thorough for a little while, so...
I hope they use all the cheesiest Sonic songs from throughout the years in its soundtrack, though. Everybody supersonic racer.
Yes.
This is like... But have you seen that... Well, I'm going to put in quotes, leaked poster for it, which is him sat on the hood of the police car of the policeman.
I have not, no.
No, that actually shows him in his full view.
Oh, okay. Oh, let's have a quick look.
It's very, very clearly still on concept stage because the policemen they're using, like, Chris Pratt's face on. It's very clearly like being photoshopped together, and Chris Pratt's not in the movie. So it's very clearly like conceptual.
Oh, that is Chris Pratt, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's worth looking up, but one of the tweets I saw, and it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm 100% certain this will happen, is lazy policeman sat at the side of the interstate with his, like, speed gun, then Sonic goes past, and he goes up to, like, 800, and he's like, what?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you could write
I can't remember
whose...
Yeah, I can't remember whose tweet that is, otherwise I'd credit them properly, but definitely wasn't mine. But that's the thing, I hope it's at least... If it's going to be bad, I hope it's at least interestingly bad.
Yeah.
Because nothing is worse than a mediocre, boring film. If it's explosively bad, that's actually in some ways better.
Yeah.
Get what I mean?
So I've gone down the list of film news and it's gotten progressively worse. Let's take a U-turn to TV. Let's take a U-turn in our Audi e-tron GT towards TV news. What have we got here? So we got more Mandalorian news because that's going to happen weekly apparently.
Okay.
A few more cast members announced. Breaking Bad's Giancarlo Esposito, who was a villain in Breaking Bad. I never really saw it or got that far into it.
No, my parents are binging it on Netflix at the moment. They'd recommend it, by the way, people listening at home.
Okay, good.
But I've never seen it.
No. We've also got Carl Weathers, who I believe was Apollo Creed in the Rocky films.
Yes. He also had a recurring spot in Arrested Development as himself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very nice. But most interestingly, arguably, is the addition of German documentary filmmaker Werner Herzog, who has joined the cast. So that's happening.
Yeah.
You know the guy, he did like Grizzly Man, My Best Fiend. He's
I recognise the name, but I don't think I've ever seen any of his work.
So you would have seen him in an episode of Rick and Morty, because he cameoed in that as well as the one of the doctors who does a little monologue on human penises.
Okay, yeah.
If you remember the German doctor who comes in and he's all like, the humans laugh at the penis when it is too small, and they laugh when it is too big. That guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, him. That's
a very specific bit part for you to remember for Werner Herzog.
Well, he's got a big spanning documentary career, but he's also he's done a bit of acting recently as well because he's kind of become a parody of himself, but also I kind of love him.
That's the thing, like, there's two ways that can go. It can either be really cringy,
yeah,
or it can just be, like, brilliant.
Yeah, oh, it is brilliant. Because, like, the first parody kind of thing he did was, like, a documentary about, like, a living plastic bag, and it was kind of this experimental documentary because it kind of fictionalized the journey of a plastic bag in the ocean kind of thing, and from there he's just he's just doing everything. I'd quite like him to narrate The Mandalorian, if I'm being honest. That would make it exceptional. But yeah, exciting things. So switching sci-fis to Doctor Who, there's a chance the Daleks may return for the New Year special. This isn't from any kind of sort. Well, it's been around on like the papers and stuff, like tabloidy stuff, but this mostly comes from fan theory, which I know we don't normally cover. But people have assumed because the New Year's special has been titled Resolution, and people think that's not the full title because Resolution sounds like the start of one of those classic Dalek titles, like Revelation of the Daleks, Genesis of the Daleks, Evolution of the Daleks. It's one of those words that could quite easily fit into that.
Yeah, but it's also being on TV on New Year's.
Mm.
So New Year's resolution.
Yeah, of course, but
like I get where they're coming from, but part of me's like, resolution of the Daleks? Are they just like,
did you
in the new year I will lose weight? I'm gonna wait and see, but I'm not particularly buying it.
Well, do you see the trailer?
Yes.
I don't know. I feel like they've kind of put themselves into a bit of a corner where they kind of can't not put them in now. Because I didn't realise this, but there's a lot of fans who have not liked this series at all. Like, I've liked it. I haven't been, like, over the moon about it, but, like, I've really liked it. A lot of fans did not like it, and they're really now expecting the Daleks to pop up, or some classic villain to pop up, or...
What is it about sci-fi fans and just never being satisfied with anything?
Well, yeah, that's true. But now they've released...
Not looking to say anything controversial, but I enjoyed it. And I can also enjoy... Like, I can enjoy it when it's, like, more convoluted and overarching plotty. And, to be honest, I can enjoy it when it's a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed this because it's back to basics, and I think that was necessary.
Yeah.
But you've got people that were probably complaining about both those series.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we were avid dislikers of the Moffat era generally. I mean, I thought there were some exceptional episodes. Whereas I could only...
Otherwise we'd have just stopped watching.
Yeah, exactly. It's got us back. But yeah, the trailer they've revealed for this New Year's special is kind of building up to like something, because at the end of the trailer, Graham turns around, he's like... Because the Doctor's saying, these are the most dangerous creatures in the universe, and Graham goes, have they got a name? And then the trailer cuts out at that point. So, I feel like they must be hinting towards something, because if not, the fans that have already turned against it, I feel they are going to just push them completely out.
Yeah, especially when you have that lead-in of like the most dangerous in the universe.
Yeah.
It has to be something pre-established, because otherwise you're going to get complaints of like, but these in the in the lore, these are the most dangerous in the universe.
Yeah. So no, it might happen, which I'd be happy to see, because I feel like it was...
Oh yeah, like I'd be up for it.
As you say, I think it was quite necessary to have a series back to basics with no returning characters, so you're not just relying on nostalgia, and you can just get to grips with these new characters without any big distractions.
And it means that the show has to hold up on its own merits. It can't just like phone it in by just being fan service.
No, exactly. Yeah. Having said that, I do want to see the Daleks back.
Oh yeah, no, I'd absolutely love to see him back. They took some of my favourite episodes from the T. Davies era were the Dalek ones. I mean, I'm going to be honest and say some of the worst episodes of the Moffat era were the Dalek ones.
Yes.
With like the Parliament of the Daleks, like the Right Honourable Khan or whatever.
Oh yeah.
It was just
But like the thing is as well is that we've now found out Doctor Who won't be returning until 2020 for its next full season. So I'd be very surprised if there was no returning characters as well before that next season. Just to give the fans a bit of a perk after they're going to have to wait for like over a year until the next one, kind of thing.
Yeah, and well, and I think next series will have a good handful of returning monsters.
Yeah,
because now they've established it, they're going to be like, okay, let's get into the meat of things.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, we might even have a big discussion on this series of Doctor Who next week. We'll do some notes on each of the episodes maybe and talk about it. Depends how long our Aquaman conversation is probably going to use up. If you are not after watching Doctor Who on this seasonal break, then BBC has another thing you can watch called Watership Down. It's a remake of the nightmare-inducing, hideous animation from the 1970s or whenever it came out, starring James McAvoy, John Boyega, Olivia Colman, Nicholas Hoult. You see the trailer? It's just come out.
No, I've heard about it, but I've not actually seen the trailer yet.
Have you seen the original?
No.
You haven't seen the... Okay,
well,
so
I might have.
It's like
when I was very little.
It's like a terrifying British version of The Lion King, except everyone's swearing and cutting each other to bits. It's fucking horrible to watch.
Yeah, no, I was reading a little bit about it the other day. Wasn't it like... Didn't it originate from like stories he used to tell his kids in the car? Like on car journeys.
Yeah, I guess.
That's terrifying. Like, how much must your kids have been playing up?
Yeah, they are. It's properly gruesome. They're rabbits basically, and they go around and it's all a territorial thing, and they're just cutting each other to pieces. There's a seagull telling people to piss off. That actually happens. It's not pleasant to watch at all. But this is like a kind of semi CGI version remake, so it might be more pleasant to watch. I don't know. It might not be as graphic. Who knows?
Yeah.
It might be more graphic. It might be heads popping off and everything.
I mean, that would be kind of funny too.
Yeah. Watch it if you want nightmares on Christmas Day. Don't watch it if you'd rather something cozier.
So the first story this week is something announced during the Game Awards that I don't even think I covered in the last story, but there's been news in the last few days that this actually might be a bigger deal than I'd originally made it out to be. So Epic Games, who develop Fortnite and make the Unreal Engine, are opening their own store on PC. Now this typically wouldn't be much of a story, because while Steam is the kingmaker on PC and has been for some time, it's not the only platform. There's EA Origin, Uplay, GOG Galaxy, and the Windows Store, which also have games available through them. So I guess, yeah, what is the news that makes this actually worth talking about and not just another in a long list? So the first point is probably the most obvious one, just to get out of the way. Epic make Fortnite. So it's going to have a lot of clout straight off the bat, especially with younger players, players that are just getting into PC gaming. So that's not to say any of the services I above just, any of the services I've listed don't have their must-play games on their services, but like Fortnite is the big one of now, with 200 million players or something ridiculous.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Or it was some really high number. I saw it earlier today, but I should have probably written it down. But it was a lot.
Yeah.
Perhaps more that makes this an interesting story is the reports this week that 3 studios have either delayed or cancelled their games release on Steam in favour of the Epic Games Store.
Really?
So this includes Super Meat Boy developer Team Meat, who also developed The Binding of Isaac, which we have talked about in previous series.
I remember.
They are releasing their new game, Super Meat Boy Forever, exclusively on the Epic Games Store. So, also among those that are looking at the new store are Team 17. So I mentioned these guys last week because they published Overcooked 2, that won an award at the Game Awards. They also published Yooka-Laylee.
Oh, right, okay.
And they are bringing a new game to the Epic Store called Genesis Alpha 1. And I've actually posted on Steam saying that despite at the Game Awards they had a trailer saying its release date, it's not releasing on Steam that day. It's only releasing on the Epic Games Store, which is interesting, but it did get them some kind of backlash from Steam users.
So this Epic Games Store, is it just PC? Is it going to be Mac as well or anything like that?
So this is something that I think still yet to be seen, because one of the parts of it I'll get to is Epic are kind of offering cross-platform support for developers, which kind of implies that even if it's not exactly being sold through the Epic Store, there'll be you'll be able to use your Epic account maybe on consoles and.
Oh right, okay.
I assume a version will come to Mac and Linux if it's popular.
Yeah.
But I've not looked up as to whether it will be available on there now. So, yeah, this could just be a fad. But it's been getting attention recently. So I've been reading quite a few news stories about why a publisher might want to publish on Epic ahead of Steam and what some of the reasons are and the people that already are. So I could just spend this next section talking about Steam's lack of quality control, which I'm pretty sure I've done before on this show. And you can find a ton of videos online of people complaining about that. And it is true. Since the removal of Steam Greenlight and the move over to Steam Direct, it's basically pay and you can get in. And nothing gets checked and you can just... People upload any old crap on Steam. And as a result, legitimate developers will find that their game spends very little time in the new releases tab on Steam before getting pushed out because there's just so much shovelware coming on. So I'll probably talk a bit more about that in a bit, but first off, there is revenue. So obviously games want to make money. That's kind of the thing, especially small developers.
Mm-hmm.
So at the moment, on Steam, there is kind of a tier system. So from release, it's a 70-30 split. So the developer gets 70%, Steam gets 30%.
Mm-hmm.
This tier system, which is actually pretty recent, is if your game makes over $10 million, then that split becomes 75-25. So you get even more of the revenue.
Right.
And then at 50 million, it becomes 80-20.
Okay.
So
that sounds okay, though, right? So 20% goes to Steam.
So whilst arguably it's like rewarding the games that probably don't need it,
mm-hmm.
but that's decent. Like when you consider that a retailer, like on the high street.
Yeah.
I looked it up and it's roughly 50-50.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
Because of all the middlemen and,
yeah, of course,
everything in the process. So the split for the Epic Games Store is 88-12. So off the bat, you're doing better.
Really?
Financially.
That's
very
interesting.
That's something that has been mentioned as a potential reason to switch.
Yeah.
But actually, one of the studios that are bringing their game to Epic over Steam, called Coffee Stain Studios, has stated that didn't actually play into their decision. And actually, this is going back to what I mentioned before. They were arguing that a more curated storefront was better for them and actually better for the game community at large. Right. And that's why I kind of mentioned about, Steam's lack of quality control.
Right.
Because if you spent a lot of time putting together a game, you don't want to be competing for space with something that somebody made from like a free online kit and just decided to throw up for $5 just to see what happens.
Yeah.
And I think going back to the comparison to an actual high street retailer, they won't just take anything.
Right, yeah.
So that's quite interesting to hear a developer say. And actually, for a small developer that's not even going to have the marketing budget, it might be even more important.
Yeah. Nice.
So other reasons for a developer potentially wanting to move away, especially smaller developers,
mm-hmm.
is that Epic are offering cross-platform development toolkits used in Fortnite. So this is where I come back to, I don't know how it will affect consoles, but this is something that's happening. So actually, the services like cross-platform matchmaking, voice communication, and more will be available to developers for free using the Epic Games Store.
Okay. So
that will allow, especially online multiplayer games, that's a bunch of tools that have been tried and tested. And I think that's really, obviously it's trying to win over developers, but it's still a nice gesture.
Yeah. So should I move over to Epic with my groundbreaking game idea, which is a driving game where you drive around as Tony Stark in an Audi e-tron and not let Captain America fall out the back in his coffin?
So for a story that you said spoilers at the beginning of, you've mentioned it a few times this episode.
It's conjecture, it's fine. It's not real spoilers. But Phil, I've got this great game idea.
Is it where you drive around in an Audi?
Yes.
Trying to stop a dead body from falling out the back seat?
Exactly. Should I go to...
You do realise the people that skip that section to avoid spoilers are now thinking that there were some pretty serious spoilers. They're going to have to now go and listen to that story.
Yeah.
To realise that we are just playing around.
It's mostly conjecture. But Phil, if I have this genius game idea, should I go in a store or Steam or to Epic Games' new store?
Well, Epic Games might be able to give you the more support.
Nice.
And actually, if you develop that game using their Unreal Engine, so a game developed with the Unreal Engine, I don't think you pay, but it's a 5% royalty fee.
Okay.
Because
I really want to render the expression on the corpse to be like super realistic. So
you want to be using the top tier development tools.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So usually that would be 5%.
Right.
Sorry.
But it's only 88.12 to start with, though, right?
Yeah, it's 88.12.
So it'd still
and that would usually be 5%. So that'd be what, 17.
83, 17.
But
yeah.
if you have developed with Unreal Engine and you're releasing on Epic Store, they will waive the fee.
Really?
Because they'll say that it's included in the 12% cut from sales.
Really?
Yeah, so that is another kind of perk they're giving.
Okay, cool.
So, say on Steam, you released a game, it'd be 30% for Steam, then 5% for Epic for using Unreal Engine, then you'd only get 65 compared to what 8812 regardless of what engine you use.
Nice.
Well, I can't say that they in their announcement they only compared it to Unity, which is free.
Yeah.
But so there's probably other engines that you'd have to pay royalties to someone else. But again, it's another cherry.
Yeah, this sounds this sounds really good. I've got a list of games I can pitch to these developers.
You're going to be the next Shigeru Miyamoto.
Exactly, him.
Yeah. So as for trying to actually get users onto their service, Epic Games Store is giving away free games, which is, funnily enough, the exact same way that Steam got users back in the day.
Better. They're giving free games as well.
Yeah, so at the moment it's Subnautica and the original Super Meat Boy, I think, are free.
Wow.
With the idea that it will be like every few weeks, more games will be free.
Yeah.
But that's funny enough how I got Steam back in the day. It was must have been way over 10 years now ago. But they were giving away Portal for free.
Nice.
So I downloaded Steam and I got Portal. So this is nothing new really, but it's quite interesting.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
So this is not the only news regarding new storefronts on PC. So as reported by GamesIndustry.biz this week, the Discord store is offering developers a 90-10 split, which undercuts both Steam and Epic Games.
What do you get with it? So I've got my game idea. You know the one. What's going to get me into this one, Phil?
So have you heard of Discord?
No.
Basically,
I'm new to
it's
all
more
this.
of a...
I've got my game. It's all ready, but I'm just new to all this.
Basically, it's a bit of a community forum kind of place. Like, content creators will have their own Discord and other places have their own Discord, and it's like for talking directly to creators and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So they've not really got much to offer compared to Epic Games and those kind of perks. But they have also offered to open up its service for its self-service publishing platform. So I haven't really read into what that exactly entails, but it does make me a bit uneasy because, as I mentioned before, Steam Direct is technically that, and Steam Direct is bad. So it might be like a combination of a 90-10 split with no curation, just letting anything in, that you may end up with an even worse platform than Steam for just anyone putting anything on.
Yeah.
But without the big titles to make the bigger players put stuff on. So I'm interested to keep an eye on that one, but I'm skeptical. But yeah, like you've been saying, like I've been saying, I think this is really good for the PC gaming scene.
Yeah.
I think a serious competitor has come along.
Yeah.
Because the problem with Origin and Uplay is that it came more from EA and Ubisoft wanting to take their toys and go home, really.
Yeah.
And Ubisoft didn't even really commit to it.
Yeah.
Because you can still buy Ubisoft games through Steam. They just also get registered on Uplay. Whereas obviously EA's just got its own playhouse with its own toys.
Yeah.
So this is actually one that's taking it a bit seriously and trying to woo developers more and isn't just copying, but they're like, how can we do something more than what's out there? And I think that's generally really good.
Yeah, competition is always good.
Yeah, that's basically the moral of the story. Competition is always good.
That's a 70-degree thumb on the Synop thumb scale.
That's good.
Yeah.
Speaking of competition, actually,
Go on.
I did have a closing line, but actually this plays in just too perfectly that I'm going to use the link instead. And also my joke was kind of shit. Street Fighter 5. Right? So Street Fighter 5 is getting talked about this week because it's getting in-game ads.
Right.
So
Wait,
this will be
what? On a console?
On a console game that you've already had to pay, £50 or whatever to get.
What?
And it just I'm not going to talk about it at great length because it was a topic of game critic Jim Sterling's show, The Jimquisition, this week, and he went into it in a lot more detail.
Yeah.
But oh my god, they look terrible. So it's putting logos on costumes, arenas, and loading screens, although they have come out, the developers have said it won't slow down your loading times to have it on.
Yeah.
And it is opt-in, opt-out, and you get some in-game currency fight money for having it on. But it just looks bad.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Like, it's like having your favourite character. Like, imagine, like, Mario, but with, like a logo on his overalls. Because that's literally what some of the characters have got. They've got, like, patches on their costumes, and it just looks bad.
Imagine Captain America's dead body getting stuffed into a tiny Audi coupe.
That says Red Bull on the side. So this one I really didn't write any lines for. It's just dumb.
Good on them. At least you can opt out, I guess.
Yeah, and apparently the amount of in-game currency you get given for having it on is pitiful. It's tiny.
In a unrelated note, but they did this with the Amazon Fire when they first, the tablet.
Oh yeah.
When they first released it, so you could only have the adverts would appear on the lock screen as soon as you wake it up, kind of thing. And then a couple of months later, they were like, "Yeah, people don't like this," so they gave you the option to opt out. But if you carried on, it gave you some credit towards a book or something on your Kindle.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, as long as it's opt out, but I don't like.
Well, initially it wasn't. That's the thing. So.
Yeah, I don't like the implications this might have for future games. Because you've already paid, and then there's going to be the DLC and the microtransactions and possibly the loot boxes.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, but, we can't cover the cost of developing this game, so we need ads as well. And it's like, then you're doing a very poor job at game development at this point.
I was going to say,
it's not on the consumer.
That's a pretty basic formula for a game as well, isn't it? It's a few buttons that you can just kind of mash in a relatively flat world.
That's the thing. I don't want to go into the intricacies of 2D fighting games because they have to be balanced like crazy well.
Yeah, of course.
But compared to say Red Dead 2 or whatever, it does seem
they
like
haven't got to program all the hairs on the nutsack of a horse. They got very little to do in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, sure. So this is ads are being added to Street Fighter 5. Kind of makes me hope that some real strange companies buy ad space just for the laughs. Reuse Hadouken, brought to you by Heinz Baked Beans. And now we move on to the headlines of the week, which I actually only have 2 this week.
Go on.
Because this hasn't been a very news-heavy week. So the first one is following up from last week. That apparently the Game Awards doubled its viewership this year.
Really?
Yeah, that's impressive actually, because it's been doing better slowly year on year.
Yeah.
But that's quite a significant leap for a show within its 5th or 6th year of broadcast.
Where did they? I guess it's streamed. Where do they just from their website? Is it?
It's on Twitch. I think it might have been on YouTube, and then it'd been on their website.
Right. Okay.
And then that's pretty good though.
It's pretty good.
And also, there's a story this week about police responding to a noise complaint over a group of teenagers playing Smash Bros. And then they joined in and played as well.
Nice. Like those kind of stories.
So that's I like those kind of stories. So I thought I'd include it in. But yeah, it's just they came to investigate a noise. Apparently, one of the neighbours called the police on them, which isn't cool.
No.
And then they stayed and played a few games, and it's one of those just nice little stories, really. You can look it up completely. So it was on Game Informer, but I'm sure it's probably on a few sites.
Have you ever had a noise complaint in your flat?
No, which is surprising, really.
Yeah.
Because, I have people around a decent amount, and, we play music and stuff like that, but no, my neighbours are pretty chill. I do, and also the walls are pretty thick as well, because I never hear anyone else either.
I think the flat next to mine is an Airbnb, and so the people living in there obviously change weekly.
Okay.
And someone once came around and complained my TV was too loud at 6 p.m. on a weekend, and I was watching Doctor Who on like a pretty standard like volume 20. I was like, what? What is this? They're gone now. That's good.
Yeah, no, I used to hear my downstairs neighbours, because for some reason they'd be, like, they had a young kid, but for some reason they'd be watching, like, kids' shows quite loud at, like, 11 p.m. at night. Right. But because it was under my living room, it didn't stop me from getting to sleep, so I never really, like, cared. Yeah. And to be honest, like, when I first moved in, I just really wasn't thinking. Like, a piece of furniture arrived at, like, 10 to 9 in the evening. I just immediately built it. So I was hammering in nails at 9:30 at night, and no one complained.
Nice. Who does? Who really does complain about? I mean, unless it's like, yeah, like loud and abrasive and violent. Like, who complains about a little bit of?
That's the thing. If it was just loud music, I'd just go around and like knock on the door and just be like, "I've got like a busy day tomorrow," something like that. If it was like really important, most of the time I don't care. Yeah. If it sounded genuine, like, violent, then I'd probably call the police. Yeah. But I've luckily never had to experience it.
Because, like, if you listen to Smash, those noises aren't really...
Yeah,
it doesn't sound like a real fight, does it?
No, it's probably more likely people going, "Whoa, ah," you know, like watching the games. Yeah. But yeah, so I think that was like a nice story, but.
The police, the people next door seem to be having some kind of brawl. I can hear big novelty hammers being hit at each other.
I heard ray guns. So anyway, the last story this week is one of my weird product of the week ones.
Nice.
And for some reason, it is always Mega Man. So anyway,
celebrating his 30th anniversary still?
No, so this is to do with Mega Man Fully Charged.
Okay.
So this was a cartoon that's coming out, which I did actually report on when it was announced. But apparently it started airing. I've just not looked it up.
Right.
But apparently it's had some production issues and it's only aired a few episodes and now there's not going to be any for ages. Basically what Disney XD did with DuckTales last year, but they're now doing it again with a Mega Man cartoon.
Nice.
But, like, the models, I might actually just send this to you quickly through Skype. They don't look massively weird, but they don't look great. Well, they're just action figures, really.
Let's have a look.
But the thing is, it's only had a handful of episodes, and the big head scratcher for this is that they're shipping them after the holiday season is already over.
Right.
Which I guess is what makes it the weird product news, because, like... If you were going to like try and get them in, you'd try and get them in for Christmas.
Let's have a look. Have you sent it?
Oh, right, yeah, I'll send that across. I'm still not sold on this new design of Mega Man as well. And to be honest, the Wave Man picture with him looks a bit derpy.
Let's have a look here. Arriving in February. Perfect. Just in time for the holiday season.
Just in time for Chinese New Year.
Wave Man and Mega Man. I don't hate it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't just.
I mean, Wave Man does look a bit like a Henry Hoover, but.
That's the thing, and his eyes seemed like maybe it's just this model, but his eyes seem to be like going out in different directions. So yeah, if it's getting to February and you want some new Mega Man merch, you've bought the urn and Mega Man 11, and you want something new, then check out the Mega Man toys.
You know what you can keep in an urn?
What?
Captain America's dead body.
I knew you were going to say that, but I still bit. So this week, me and Nick, as we said, we sent out invitations to the entire multiverse to review this film, because this film is about the multiverse. Mm-hmm. It is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's a new animation from Sony Animation Pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we're going to talk about... Well, we're going to do non-spoilers first, and then I will actually time code this in the show notes so that you know to... Well... If you want to skip from spoilers straight to our kind of outro.
Mm-hmm. I think this is one definitely don't just listen the way through into spoilers. I think this is possibly one of those few films a year where I'd say go watch it. And if you want to avoid anything whatsoever, I would I would just skip right to the end.
Yeah, I'd say honestly, like,
Don't even. You know what? Just close the podcast app, turn off your phone, launch it out your nearest window. Oh wait, no. Book tickets first to see Spider-Verse, then throw it out your nearest window.
Yeah, because actually one of the joys of this film was knowing so little about it going in.
Absolutely.
So if you have seen it, do stay and like listen to our discussion and see if you agree.
Yeah.
But if you haven't, I would seriously consider just not listening to any of the discussion and just going to see it.
I'd agree. And
so
we don't normally not plug ourselves, but this is
we don't usually tell people don't listen to this podcast. But what we're saying is go see it, then come back and listen to this.
Exactly. So straight off the bat, Phil, what did you think of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse?
Hated it.
Really?
No. I want to just done that intro.
It's one of those films you shouldn't listen to spoilers on. Go see it, but I hated it.
No, it was. It might have been the best animation I've seen this year.
This might be the best film I've seen this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it's definitely going into the top films list, I think.
And it's easily the best Spider-Man film, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is weird that, like, the last time we got 2 good Spider-Man films in a row was, like, 2002 or something.
Yeah, you're right. Well, you can't technically say in a row because in this universe exists Venom, don't forget. Did you see Venom?
Oh, for God's sake. Yeah, I keep on forgetting. So, yeah, there still hasn't been 2 good Spider-Man films in a row, has there? Really?
Well, I mean, I guess you wouldn't really count Venom as a Spider-Man film, per se. At the end of the credits of Venom, though, it does say, meanwhile in another dimension, and we see a clip from Spider-Verse, which means these technically exist in the same universe.
But hopefully they'll never meet.
No, I hope not. Because Venom was shite. This was really good, though. Yeah. I mean...
Just say it...
What can we talk about here?
I was going to say, it looks amazing.
It does. The animation style was gorgeous. I'm pretty sure they did it frame by frame on Photoshop or something. Because it's just, like, it's got, like, a kind of weird blend of, like, photorealism, like, in terms of its, like, colours and, like, backgrounds and stuff like that. But also, like, it's just so comic booky.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, it probably had a lot of detail put into it after it was all drawn up and, like... Even after it was rendered, because obviously it's rendered in that kind of really good kind of almost... I want to say cel shading, but that's not right. But you know that style,
right?
And
Yeah.
then there's bits where it all pop into different animation styles or have animation put over the top.
Yes.
So clearly a lot of attention was put in.
Absolutely. What else was good? Yeah, visually it was incredible. Soundtrack was really good. I've been listening to that.
Yeah.
I've been listening to that a little bit. It's just come out. What else is really good? I mean, if you've seen even like a little bit of the trailers and stuff, you know this is Miles Morales' story rather than a Peter Parker story. And I feel like all of those characters are dealt with really well.
Yeah, I could watch a solo film of any of the characters in this film.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm not even sure I want to talk about like the alternative Spider-Mans and stuff that much here.
I was going to say they were introducing the trailer, so
you know what?
Considering we've already told people to stop listening, I think we can talk about stuff that came up in the trailer.
That's true. You know, I managed to go in only having seen that first initial trailer.
So what? So did you know about the alternate Spider-Man at that point?
I might have seen like a TV spot or like an Instagram advert or something, but I didn't really watch it. So I knew about the casting and stuff like that. I knew like, a few of the characters would be popping up, but like, so yeah, I didn't know about Penny Parker.
Okay,
which
yeah,
is pretty cool. Apparently, she's a creation of Gerard Way, the lead singer of My Chemical Romance.
Huh.
Yeah, so there you go. We knew from casting that Nicolas Cage was going to be Spider-Man Noir, who was...
I mean, that was a good casting. He did a very good job.
It was really good.
Which is weird to say for a Nicolas Cage film.
Yeah, and I felt all the characters added something as well. They were funny enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really good, diverse cast of Spideys there. Again, it was shown in the trailer. Gwen Stacy appears as Spider-Woman in this, usually called Spider-Gwen. But obviously, it's best to go.
And it was shown in the trailers as well, Spider-Ham.
Yes. Oh, it was shown in the trailers, okay. Yeah, that's a really great addition.
It wasn't shown very much, but it was just, I think, shown at like the end of the second trailer.
Right, yeah.
When they showed all the Spider-Man.
Great cast. So we got it's Haley Steinfeld as Gwen Stacy. Who else have we got? We got Chris Pine and that guy from Jurassic World. There's two different versions of Peter Parker. I can't remember who plays Miles Morales, but I thought that was really good voice acting as well.
Yeah, no, it was really well performed. And, yeah, it's just... They made the most of their medium.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the design of the villain, because I can't remember if he was in the trailers, is just amazing.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, it's just...
And there were, like, because I didn't really get... I knew some of the later trailers probably would have spoiled quite a bit, but, like, there was a lot of stuff I really did not see coming. And, like, to experience that kind of level of, like, fan joy, if you've got, like, that knowledge of Spider-Man. Maybe this isn't the most accessible Spider-Man film. That is one thing I could say. No, but at the same...
Yeah, because there's some characters I didn't know, but at the same time, I didn't care.
Yeah.
It's accessible and that it's just so good. Yeah.
This is one of those films as well where, like, I had the full range of emotions. Like, there were some moments that, like, genuinely got to me, including something we'll talk about in spoilers, but, like, and, like, the jokes all perfectly delivered. I thought were, like, it was a genuinely funny Spider-Man film. Great villains. Just great.
It was just...
yeah.
That's the thing, it's difficult to talk without going into spoilers without us just repeating over and over again. Oh my god, it was amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
It was amazing.
I will say this is probably, in terms of superhero films I've walked out of and, like, felt that excited and that, like, stunned at, is probably the first superhero film since The Dark Knight. I've probably felt that way.
I've heard people saying it's the best superhero film since The Dark Knight. I kind of want to see it again.
Yeah, me too. I only
saw it last night.
Yeah, that was my initial reaction. I was going to go again the other night, but ended up seeing Aquaman, and well,
that's next episode's discussion because I'm seeing it tomorrow.
I won't say too much.
I think it's time to get on to let's do scores and then we'll go on to spoilers.
You know what? It's a 90-degree thumbs up for me.
So I got confused about this last week. So that's what, a 10 out of 10? Yeah. I'm really struggling to argue with you. It might be the near perfect realization of its own concept. Yeah.
Which is weird because it's like the least traditional Spider-Man film, like, ever made.
Yeah, screw it, 10. Mm-hmm. I was going to be like, 9.5, but then I was thinking, like, how could they have made up that extra 0.5?
Yeah. Perfect score from the Synopt.
And, yeah, if you don't want anything more spoiled, if we've got you hyped to see it, then we'll see you next week. Because we're going to talk spoilers now.
Hopefully we haven't got you too hyped to see it at that point. I really hope we haven't just blown your expectations
yeah,
out of the water.
Yeah, I hope we haven't overhyped it, because that's happened to me before, with stuff getting overhyped, and then I was actually disappointed.
Yeah.
So go in thinking it's going to be bad.
Yes.
And then we'll see you next week.
See you next week. And for you who carried on for spoilers starting now, let's delve into some of it.
Do you want to start?
Yeah. So the concept is Miles Morales. First we're introduced to Peter Parker as we love and know him, played by Chris Pine, and this is like the perfect version of Spider-Man. In like perfect reality kind of thing. He's like married. He's enjoying being Spider-Man. He's got all the classic rogues gallery and whatnot, but he wins every time. He always gets back up.
Yeah.
And then we're introduced to Miles Morales, who, for a series of events, gets bitten by the spider, starts getting the feeling that he's got spider powers, and then ends up running into an encounter between this like perfect version of Spider-Man, of Peter Parker Spider-Man, and a pretty crazy take on the Green Goblin.
Yes.
What did you think of that?
I thought it was the lizard for a moment before he said goblin.
Yeah, well, he said Norman
like,
as well.
what?
He said Norman, didn't he?
Yeah.
It's pretty rad. Wasn't really expecting that, but I think like the gist of it is this is still technically an alternate reality from the other ones, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, that's the good thing when you're playing with multiple realities. You can be like, well, this is how it happened in this world. So
yeah, exactly.
Shrug.
Yeah, because there's a chance the Spider-Man the Peter Parker we're introduced to later could be like the old school Spider-Man, like the one we've kind of mostly seen through film adaptations and whatnot. Because he's brown haired. In certain versions, he's broken up. He's divorced with Mary Jane, the version we're introduced to later, and like that stuff has happened in like the old school comics and stuff. So I feel like he might be the traditional Spider-Man. And this blonde Chris Pine Spider-Man is like the perfect rendition. So obviously he dies within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, I was confused by that because I was like, I swear there's scenes in the trailer of him interacting more with Spider-Man, and Spider-Man is now dead.
But yeah, that genuinely pretty affected me as well, actually, because and it's the main villain of this story, of course, is Kingpin, who has been he's had a pretty good year, hasn't he, for adaptations?
Yeah, and he's just that's who I was referring to in the non-spoilers. He's just basically a big rectangle with a face, and it works.
It really does work. I was actually having a conversation with a friend about Daredevil the other day. I was like, have you watched it? And he was like, no, I gave up in the first season. I was like, what? Why? He was like, Kingpin's not big enough. I was like, what? So I'm now going to point him in the direction of this film, where you've basically just got, as you say, a big rectangle with a face, and who just he could not practically get anywhere. He wouldn't be able to walk through a door, like.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't play that for laughs at any point of him like walking sideways through a thin door or something.
Yeah. But yeah, he was a great villain. He was voiced by who's the actor? He was the villain in X-Men Origins Wolverine. He was Victor in X-Men Origins Wolverine. I can't remember the. That's gonna bug me.
We do have Google,
yes,
right?
All right, I'll do it. Kingpin, Spider-Verse.
So whilst Nick is looking that up, I'll just say that the story goes on from there. So unfortunately, original Spidey dies, and Miles is kind of left reeling from it because he's just watched Spider-Man die and he had to hide and he couldn't do anything, and that's when he goes to. Well, he has some kind of a few interactions because he meets a new girl at school. Actually, no, that's before that, isn't it? That he meets Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, because he just first gets spider powers when he's just. It's Liev Schreiber, by the way, is the actor.
Okay. And then he bumps into her the next day, and that's when his spider powers start making him incredibly awkward.
Yeah.
And he manages to end up getting some of her hair shaved off.
Oh yeah, which is a pretty cool look.
Which, to be fair, it's a damn good look.
Which she says, you don't get to say that. Which I thought was a nice line. This film was, it was perfect balance of, I thought, funny and the stakes were high enough. Like there's a couple of particularly poignant scenes as well. Like when Peter Parker dies and Miles Morales first starts like deciding that he's going to sort of use his power to be responsible and whatnot, and we get like, I think what might be my favourite ever Stan Lee cameo.
Yes,
because
that's
like
it was amazing.
It was amazing because like it was funny enough, and yet it was like heavy enough as well that it got me choked up a bit watching it, because Miles Morales goes to buy a Spider-Man costume, and the person selling the costume is Stan Lee, and he says something to the effect of sort of like, "Oh, will it fit, sir?" And like Stan Lee's character,
he says, "What if it doesn't fit?"
And Stan Lee replies, "It will always fit eventually." which I thought was just like such a poignant line.
Yeah,
like,
but then it does the zoom out.
And it says no refunds ever or something like that. But yeah, this film is just genius.
Yeah, no, it's so cleverly written. Like the bit at the funeral, and like I think it's Mary Jane's like, anyone could be Spider-Man. It's like, I could be Spider-Man. And the guy next to him is like, I don't think she means you in particular.
Yeah, that's the thing. I got caught off guard emotionally so much, from like laughter to like welling up and.
Well, that's the thing a good film needs, is like dizzying highs, so that when those low points hit, they really like hit you like a train.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I think that's the problem with some of these like grimdark films have. They're just mopey the whole way through, so therefore the heavy hitting points don't hit as hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas this, it like raises you up and then it's like punch to the gut.
And also like it's not just a film. It's not a film that's just like scared to like be indulgent as well, because it's a very indulgent film. We see like see the Insomniac Spider-Man suit in the background of Spidey's
yes,
Spider
I thought
cave.
that was a nice touch.
We also get a new version of Doc Ock, which I didn't see coming.
Okay. Oh yeah, no, I didn't see that coming either.
Which was like proper fanboy moment for me, because that's one of my favourite villains. And it was like a really clever new design on it. And it wasn't just redesigning it for the sake of it. It's like, as you say, it's a universe where things can change a bit. And I thought one funny moment was, the bit where the experienced Peter Parker thinks that the lead scientist is the guy in the foreground.
No, I thought that was a really, really nice little line to slip in. He's like, and I'm going to reassess my personal biases.
Yeah. Well, like that guy in the foreground as well, he's got like the circular glasses, and he's kind of got the original body shape of the original Doc Ock as well, which I thought was pretty smart.
Yeah.
What else do we get in this film? We won't just list everything in this because, like, but towards the end, when he first gets the suit and he takes that leap of faith, which was like such a well-earned kind of climactic moment, like from the script. It really,
and it's so well done.
So well done. And that shot is actually my phone wallpaper at the moment. The upside down one where he's just leaping into New York below him. I thought that was honestly one of my just like favourite superhero shots I've ever seen. There's the reason why I think we've both given this a perfect 10 is just because like I genuinely don't know what would improve this film.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, there's never like really any contrivances in the plot. There's nothing that it's like, oh, this is just here to like move it along. And like the final battle, because of its kind of cross reality machine, is like out of Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
It's just so nuts.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think possibly the third act is a bit quick, but I didn't care. No. Like, it's such an insignificant nitpick that I'm like, like I wouldn't have taken anything out to make that final battle longer. No. And yeah, it was just, I liked the running joke of the comic book going down on the side and it being like, this is my origin story. Yeah. And then it comes around really nicely at the end when Miles does it last.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the thing. It's just everything feels very well earned by the final act. Every character's kind of had an arc. Every character's kind of like developed. And yeah, I thought it was just really, really good.
That's the thing. Like, I guess that's why we can discuss a bad film for like 40 minutes, but a good film for maybe only 20 is because we're just, at the end of the day, we're just kind of gushing over it too much.
Exactly. And as you said, I don't think I could nitpick anything with this film.
It was just, it like knew what it wanted to be from the off and it didn't make any concessions. No. It was like, this is what we're doing.
Exactly.
It was Phil Lord and Chris Miller, wasn't it?
I think Phil Lord was one of the writers. I don't think they directed it.
But still, like, they're the guys who wrote Lego
Yeah,
Movie.
so they had a head in production of it, obviously. So
Yeah.
I think they pushed.
But apparently the three directors were quite big industry veterans anyway.
Okay, yeah. It definitely felt like...
I don't know what they've worked on previously.
It definitely felt like a product of its own imagination. It didn't feel like it was compressed at all by the studio or by traditional narrative structures or anything. It was just kind of exactly what it...
Feels like a bunch of super fans got together and were like, what's the craziest, best version of this we can make?
And it was.
And you thought that Aquaman might get a place in the... Well, it still might, but it will definitely not be... You know, I'm going to say something very bold. I'm going to see Aquaman tomorrow. I do not think it will be better than Into the Spider-Verse.
I can already tell you it's not. So, just a quick don't at me. I want to talk briefly about another arguably good Spider-Man film, which is Spider-Man 3. I feel like this is one of the true don't at me's of the season, because this is something that everyone probably disagrees with me on. But I quite like Spider-Man 3.
The thing is, Spider-Man 3 came out in a period of time where it was like, compared to The Dark Knight, and like a lot of superhero films were doing well. But now we've had such absolute terrible superhero films since. That might have even been pre-Green Lantern.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so I feel like I think it was about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years, I rewatched all the Spider-Man Sam Raimi trilogy.
Yeah.
And I thought it was fine. Like, its pacing was a bit dopey and it was a bit silly.
It was very silly, wasn't it? But that's another thing that they make reference to in Spider-Verse, don't they?
Yeah.
You get a brief... It's in the trailer as well. You get a brief recreation of the famous dance scene from Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to talk about it.
But that's a... Yeah, it's like... No, I agree. It's like... Whilst it definitely could have been better, it wasn't as bad as everyone makes out.
And like I think I find it still pretty funny generally, especially the recurring character played by what's his name? He pops up as like the antagonist in Peter Parker's life in like all three movies, and I still find his appearances really funny in all of them. And I feel like they also wrap up the Osborn story pretty well as well. I feel like the death of Harry was pretty well earned, and it was poignant enough. Those films definitely suffer at representation for female characters, but because Mary Jane just screams in those films.
Yeah, no, Mary Jane is just there basically to fall out with Peter Parker and then get captured in the final
bounce
act.
Between Harry and Peter.
That's the thing, like... They were very good films, but like compared to like more recent Spider-Man films, they're not,
such as Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, they're not quite as good, but I still really still rate them highly.
And I feel like the Venom storyline was also done better than in this year's Venom movie. So
I also believe that. Well, I haven't seen Venom, so I can't comment, but it sounds like that's not difficult.
You know that film did really well and it's getting a sequel. It made like 900 million or something crazy.
So we're going to get Venom 2.
Probably. Into the Venomverse.
All the different universe versions of Venom come together and just argue.
But yeah, don't at me.
So I think that just about ends our show for this week. If you want to keep up to date with updates, you can follow us at Cynical Podcast, where we'll be posting updates on the show. And I occasionally tweet about stories that wouldn't have had time to cover in the news or just couldn't be asked to talk about with them.
Like the Playmobile movie.
Well, yeah, that could have just been a tweet, to be honest. But this week it was the fact that in an interview somebody asked Nintendo of America President Reggie Fils-Aimé, like, would you want like Red Dead Redemption 2 on your platform? And it's like, what is he supposed to say? No? Is he supposed to... No, I do not want like the biggest game of the year on my platform. Thank you. And he was like, yeah, it was just, the timings didn't work out, you know? And it's like, that's such a non-answer.
Yeah.
But you can look up that interview if you want to see it.
Sorry
You
if
can
this
also-
episode has been a bit... Well, sorry if the discussion was a little bit... It's not good when we both agree on a
Yeah, no, we really need something that we disagree on. Maybe
agreeably
Aquaman.
great... Yeah, maybe. But Spider-Man was such an agreeably great film.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I defy anyone to not like it.
That's the thing. I dislike the internet's habit of hate clicks. You know, like just disliking things just for like that rage. But when you just sit around liking something, the conversation is just like, yeah, that was really good. Then you just high five and go home. What you can also do is you can join us on Fridays where we are playing through Lego Harry Potter years 1 to wherever.
Yes.
This Friday, last Friday, sorry, we started year 2. So that's, we're making our way through the game. You should join us. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You can follow me at Haddo Inc. Although I mostly tweet about the podcast.
You can follow me at Mick Nortimer, where I tweet about mostly not the podcast.
And yeah, no, with that said, next week, as we've said a few times through this episode, we are going to be talking about Aquaman. Can it be a good DC film to round off this season? No. Spoilers.
But we'll see you next week anyway.
Yeah, get into the details next week. Until then, I've been Phil.
And I've been Nick.
Have a good week.
You too. No. Also have a good one. It's December, I'm tired. I've got to get back to my mince pie.
That was to the audience, Nick.
Bye.